The phenomenon of seeing faces in everyday objects is a very human condition that relates to how our brains are wired. And now research from the University of New South Wales has shown that we process these fake faces using the same visual mechanisms of the brain that we do for real ones. And it isn't just faces. The researcher in today's video is completely convinced by a couple of grainy images of what resemble a door taken on the surface of Mars by the Curiosity Rover is an actual door to a secret Martian world or burial tomb or whatever. But in reality, it's most likely compressive damage, the consequences of some stress on the rock splitting part of it off, probably helped out by a Mars earthquake or two. So let's have a look and see what this very important Mars researcher has to say about the whole situation. I bet it'll all make perfect sense. Please subscribe.
But I've been busy with these images of this, which is a doorway, right, or entrance, and I spotted this morning, but I've been very busy putting this together, which is a gig pan of all the images from this set. Okay, here's the set of images. It's Sol 3466. Unfortunately not in colour, but I will show you some colour enhanced clips of this as well in a minute. Okay, and we have this ridge. Now this is at Mount Sharp, which I've shown 100 times before. This particular area is a bit further along to the left of where we were in previous videos.
You could have told me my eyebrows need trimming. Anyway, Mount Sharp is a mountain on Mars. It forms the central peak within Gale Crater and rises 5.5 kilometers from the valley floor. And this will become, no it won't, and this will become relevant later on in the video if we get that far into it. You'll just have to wait and see.
The rover's gradually moving along the base of Mount Sharp and then zooming the camera in to some of these ridge lines and features at the base of Mount Sharp. And here we have the doorway, just here. Okay, there it is. Now this image has been brightened up, but it's basically as it is. You can actually see the images here are black and white, and they're a little bit grungy, but they're not too bad. The lighting isn't brilliant on this day. Sometimes the mountain's lit up really well. It depends on what time of day the images are taken and on the conditions, but this is really clear. Well, at least it's clear enough anyway.
So are we just gonna ignore that gigantic hunk of rock that looks remarkably similar in size to the hole left in this rock face? Or are we gonna make this into a really short video and acknowledge the fact that that's most likely all that's happened here and that it's as a result of the many earthquakes Mars gets? That's a chunk of rock. It just broke off and fell on the floor, probably.
And what's really weird about it is when you look at it really closely, there's something inside the door.
Okay, so that's a no then. Because all I can see inside the door is more rock. So if this really is a door, it isn't really that functional, is it? Because most doors lead somewhere. And as we can quite clearly see, this one doesn't.
Now, we've got like a pathway coming down here. And it seems like there's a sort of worn path coming along here. So you'd be able to walk up this kind of slope here from down here and then walk up and then walk up to this doorway, and there's an entrance with like a little kind of angled part coming out here, right?
Yeah, right, I guess. I don't see a path myself, but then I'm not one of YouTube's foremost Mars armchair researchers, am I? So I'll just keep my opinions to myself. I definitely won't. It just seemed like the polite thing to say.
Now, as I've said before, I think a lot of this stuff isn't actually just natural rock. I think a lot of it is concrete.
Concrete? Okay. And are we sending it up from Earth, or are there cement plants on the surface of Mars that the Curiosity Rover has either not captured yet or can't find? Or are you the Mars research equivalent of Roger from Mud Fossil University?
Because over here we've got this other straight, perfectly straight piece here coming down. You can see this line that starts up here, comes down here to here, almost as if this was constructed in sections.
or almost as if these rocks are behaving in the way we would expect rock to behave. And what I mean by that is that these almost straight lines that you are seeing are cleavage planes, the tendency of a mineral to break along a flat planar surface as determined by the structure of its crystal lattice. These two-dimensional surfaces are known as cleavage planes and are caused by the alignment of weaker bonds between atoms in the crystal lattice. And they are distinguished from fractures by being smoother and often having like a reflective surface.
So it may not be completely natural. This may not just be the side of a mountain, as I've said before. And this is pretty close to all those chambers that I showed in the previous video. I'll link to that in a minute, and I'll put a clip or two of that in as well. The burial chambers are literally only about 50 meters away from this particular doorway.
Hang on a second, burial chambers. Now, you've said this earlier in the video as well, but who for? Little green men? Now, this image was taken by mast cam on board NASA's Mars Curiosity Rover on Sol 346. Now, the rover's been active on the surface of Mars for a little bit over 9 years, and in all that time, we have not captured a single image of any intelligent life, call it what you will. So, like I just said, burial chambers for who? Or what?
But what's cool about this one is you can zoom right in and there's something inside it. And we've got a nice straight edge there, and it looks very smooth here. We've got a crack here, and you can see the angle going in, and there's a round black thing. Now, I'm not going to call it an object because I don't know what it is. But if I show with the magnifier, just here, there's a round thing with what seems to have two light parts on it that look a bit like eyes or something. Now, I'm not saying they are eyes, but there's something there, and there's something below it as well, right? Let's show that again. So we've got a round object there, and there's something below it here.
Thing, very scientific. I mean, who doesn't love noticing things? Now, in my humble opinion, the two things you can see below the round thing with the eyes, although you aren't seeing their eyes, they just appear to be two chunks of rock sticking out of the round thing with not eyes. It's probably some sort of mark left on the rock surface in the background, but I'm certain you will have a much more sensible explanation for it.
I'm guessing that this may actually be an entrance to a tomb. And this corresponds exactly with some of the things that I said in those videos about the chambers and rooms recently, okay? So I do recommend you check those links out that I showed, okay? There'll be links at the end of the video, and there'll also be in the description links to this gigapan and everything else that I'm showing you as well, and all the images, okay? So the point is, there's something in there. It's not just a doorway.
Something or someone? Ooh.
So what I've done is I've got some close-ups here, and I've given one a blue filter, which really makes the detail stand out. Let's have a look at this one first. Now, this has been brightened up even more than that gigapan, and you can clearly see that there's something in there, right? Just here. We've got, let's go back a little bit, there we are. You've got a round thing here with 2 points. What looks a bit like an eye there and an eye there.
Oh, it's a cat! I bloody hate cats. The ones we have here on Earth are douchebags, so I hate to think what a Mars cat would be like.
Like a cat or something. And there's an object attached to it here, with a join there and a join there, right?
Now, I was actually being facetious when I said a cat. I really need to start watching these videos all the way through before I start making reply videos to them. And those objects with a join would be rocks, wouldn't they? Which is really what you would expect to see on a rock face.
So if I get rid of that, you should be able to see that. If I go back a little bit, you can see it there, right? So we've got those two bright eye-like things. We've got 2 points at the top. We've got a dark, I'm calling it a head. I don't know if it is. I'm just going to call it that because it looks a bit like one. But this may actually be a burial figurine. Now, as I've shown before, probably 100 times, that many of these chambers and exposed burials that we see on Mars, and Gale Crater especially, have figurines inside them, or burial masks, or skulls.
Or rocks, if you kind of squint a little bit, maybe, kind of. Look like those things, but aren't.
Look at this one. Now, this has been brightened up a bit more, and I put a blue filter on it. And the blue filter really helps with contrasting images like this, because it really makes things stand out more sometimes.
And there's me thinking that blue filters darken most colours and reduce contrast across an image, making it more difficult to see things. But I have heard that a blue filter is the best way to help you see things that aren't there in the first place, and can also help further convince you that something which is clearly just pareidolia is a real Martian space cat. So maybe I'm wrong.
And you can see that thing pretty clearly. There's something in there. You can see that the top part coming in like that, that's angled, it's curved at the top. You got this edge here, and this edge here, and there's a round thing. Now, that seems to be the back. Or there's something like a little doorway or some kind of object inside looking out. All right? You've got the angle here going back. This is a crack, so this angle goes back like that. Right, and then we've got the curve and the edges there, and you can see this thing pretty clearly when you add the blue filter. You've got to really brighten it up to see it, of course, because it's in shadow, as it would be, right, inside a door. I mean, there you can see it, and where I've cranked it up, you can actually see those what look like two eyes. Now, is it possible that's a figurine? I think it is.
Yeah, but you also think it's a Mars cat, so for now, I will remain unconvinced. Now, you claim to be a researcher, which is a person who carries out academic or scientific research, or a person whose job involves discovering or verifying information for use in, say, a book or a YouTube video. So exactly what is it you've done to verify the things you claim? Because looking at grainy images and jumping to... I can't speak. Because looking at grainy images and jumping to conclusions is not research. So what do you think? Am I wrong to just dismiss this as pareidolia? Or am I right, and this is just another example of an armchair researcher seeing what he wants to see and claiming it as a hidden discovery? Let's talk about it down in the comments. And something tells me that this isn't the last time we're going to see me looking at videos from the usual suspects. A couple spring to mind. That the door on Mars is some fantastic, secret, hidden discovery. Thanks for watching, everybody. Love you. Bye.
Alright, watch this next. But before you do, make sure you subscribe by order of the Creaky Blinder.